partying all night with the heaters on.
How about now?
Now you can hear you.
Yeah, there you go.
For
Who
some
got that
reason-
reference, by the way?
Not me.
No.
Remember back in the day when he released the album Y2K?
Sorta.
Oh God, man, that's you remember that?
Yeah.
You guys have to keep in mind, though, anything Will Smith has to be said with a grain of salt because he's a Scientologist.
Fuck, I'm old.
He's going to Miami.
Nesta, Nito, Ami.
Oh god, I'm old.
Open up Booby's notes. I have no clue what's going on.
Alright. So, what previously happened, you guys kidnapped the halfling. Now we start the session. Never
Oh,
mind.
that's right. We had it in... No, we didn't kid... Oh, no, the halfling followed us because he's crazy, and I fed him. Still on a few strays.
That makes you crazy.
Yeah, I've completely washed my hands of you.
You can try.
Alright, so you guys basically caught up the airship, it got refueled. You set off for the Shattered Peaks, which you were told was another couple of days' journey via airship. You're now, during those couple of days, by the way, you can get a long rest in, so you can, get back all of your stuff. During those couple of days, the terrain underneath traverses from a kind of like a tundra / glacier area to almost like an Arctic area. It's just everything is blanketed in snow and ice, where there isn't snow eddies and etc. It's just glacially calm. In terms of cloud cover, there isn't really that much this far south. It's far too cold for precipitation to really form, unless it's in the shape of a snowstorm. But towards the I guess actually during the entirety of the second day, you can see after you wake up in the morning, so the sun comes up, and you see on the horizon what at first you gather to be, actually it's hard to describe. You first spot it as a series of what looks to be debris on the horizon, almost like a mountain ridge. But as you come up further over the horizon, you quickly realize that it's a massive ridge, covering behind it a ginormous crater. The crater is so large that even from your vantage point of being quite high up in the air, you have difficulty comprehending the entirety of the crater. The crater itself, from rim to rim, is at least 200 or 300 miles wide. And within and atop the crater, you can see small chunks of rock, mountains or peaks, as the name is colloquially called, drifting in lazy orbits, and some are just lazily oscillating. You see some shattered remnants, these floating islands floating up. Others are drifting downward. Others are moving kind of like in a elliptical circular motion. None of them are going particularly fast, none of them are falling for etc., but all of them are drifting maybe maybe like 100 meters. Wait, no, you guys don't measure. Like 300 feet in a day, or maybe more. Yeah, like a lava lamp, basically. And near the end of the second day, as you come up past, basically as you come up to the rim, the edge of the crater from the south side, you can kind of see over the edge of this ridge, the ridge that is formed by the edges of this crater, and you can see down in the center of the crater. It slopes downwards and downwards and downwards until it vanishes behind this thick, roiling, dark fog / smoke that just fills the entirety of the bottom of this crater. And you even without being, or like Milo would see this, but recognize it quite easily enough. But the rest of you, even without having any arcanic knowledge, can see that it is an arcane storm in the center of at the base of the crater. There's roiling arcs of lightning and arcanic energy and brief flashes of whatever is going off within the depths. And occasionally, now and then, you would see one of the islands kind of just slowly sink down into this mire, into the storm, and others occasionally would start rising out of it with smoke and water and other substances pouring off it. By the way, we haven't heard Robin say anything. Is her mic working? Everything working?
I'm here.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so you guys, as you basically you're aiming for a particular island. The captain, or rather the XO, would inform you that Helios has an outpost here, serving kind of like as a way station for pilgrims who come to visit this forsaken land, and that you guys are headed for this particular outpost that starts at the bottom of this particular chain of islands that once he's pointed out, you can see they're kind of in like a zigzag pattern, and they're all moving in a direction that, like, 2 or 3 days, they would be close enough to each other that you could probably, if you had if they were interlinked somehow, you could probably traverse this linkage of islands easily enough for at least a couple of days' time. But as you guys are coming up over the crest of this crater, the XO is called over by the captain, and they have a hushed conversation where they seem to be looking like with binoculars, looking at something off to the west. Let me ask this question: Who amongst you would be up on the bridge watching all this, or are all of you there up on the bridge?
Probably
know that-
Brophy.
Milo would definitely be up there, taking in everything.
Okay,
Value would probably be back and forth.
right.
I'd be down there, 1, getting away from Brophy, and 2, talking shop with the Dragoons.
Sure. So you're quite surprised to learn, Obi, that the steam dragoons, the big mech suits that the halflings wear, apart from these menacing looking like axe the size of your entire body that they appear to wield on their back, the dragoons themselves are not actually armed of any projectile weapons. Well, they're not armed of any firearms per se. You would think that they would be, but instead, it's pointed out to you that they have kind of like this weird, almost like a mounted on one of their forearms is this where it's half semicircular. It almost reminds you a little bit of what are they called, like pipe organs, in churches, like kind of like that. And they call it a calliope. And you're told that it fires needles propelled by high pressure steam.
Oh, just like the big punt guns we had to take out the.
Yeah, almost precisely like that.
I used to know a girl named Calliope. It was alright.
Is she really high pitched and shrill? No, I'm just kidding.
Not at the time.
Not at the time. But as never mind. Those of you who are above in the bridge, you can, if you want to, attempt to overhear the EXO's conversation of the captain. Alternatively, you could just ask them what they're looking at. Either way, perception roll if you wish.
Give me a second.
1 sec.
Nice.
And sometime during the day, I'd find Exo further and see how he enjoyed his tea. His overpriced black market tea.
I forgot you guys named him Frankenfurter. So dumb.
That's the last thing I have in my note. My last two notes are they're called Steam Dragoons, dummy, and Exo Frankenfurter.
So dumb.
It's taking forever to load up. I'm sorry.
No worries. No, it's fine. So yeah. You catch snippets of their conversation here and there, Brophy. The EXO, the captain asks the EXO for like confirmation of the date. Like almost as if like it is the whatever day it is, the 3rd of summer's end or whatever. And the EXO says, yes, that's correct. And he says, strange. Or at least you catch snippets of the captain muttering strange. And then something about the folk moot being empty. And then the EXO kind of fetches his binoculars as well, or his spyglass, telescopes it out, and then looks down to where the captain is indicating. And when you look down there, when you like find a chair or whatever and look out the observation window at whatever they're looking at, they appear to be looking at some sort of like a hollow depression of stone on one of the shelves off the ridgeline of the crater. It just looks to you like some sort of like a basin or a depression. Not sure what they're talking about.
Is it over a mile away?
It is at least a mile away. It is probably like 20 or so miles away.
He'd probably just wander up to him and just casually and quietly ask what they're looking at. Why is it odd?
They glance at you and Exo Frankenfurter says to
It's
you,
just Exo Furter.
Exofurter says to you, yes. These lands are... No, wait, bad Russian accent. Never mind. These lands are populated by tall, big stone folk called... And he searches his mind for a moment, and the captain says, they call themselves Goliath. That is Goliaths, right?
It's one of the races, yeah.
Yeah, they call themselves Goliaths. And the EXO nods and says, yes, as Captain Valentino said, Goliaths. They are stone folk. They are rather acclimatized to these cold climates, and there are many tribes range this area. They're nomadic folk, but once every 3 or 4 years they gather together at a place that they call the Folkmoot to conduct negotiations and tribal meetings. This should be one of the years, and he like glances down at some sort of like a notation book or something of one of their meetings, of their great meets, but and he points over towards where they were looking before, and he says, "The Folkmoot is empty. I don't see a single person there."
Brophy will kind of frown and like scratch his chest while he's thinking. And then he'll like perk up and be like, well, maybe they ran out of food.
The captain and the XO look at each other. What is Thalia and Milo doing?
Bailey is probably just looking at the scenery. She's really not paying attention.
Okay.
Milo just be trying to figure out, like what kind of magic is taking place, and trying to figure out if it's like a nexus or something. You know, can he draw energy from this in some way? He's just thinking of
Roll me.
how it happens, and then also, is this something he could use in something that he would either conjure or create later on?
Roll me an Arcana check. And Thalia, roll me a history check since you're a bard.
I'll give my character a minute to load.
No worries. So, Milo, you're not precisely sure what could have caused. Like, you're not sure if this was natural or this was artificial. But the only word that comes to your mind when it describes this arcane storm at the base of this crater is, well, there are two words. One is maelstrom, would be the best way to describe it. And the second would be cataclysmic. Because in order for something to create a crater 300 miles across, you can't imagine the titanic force of clearly what is some sort of a magical explosion. You're surprised something like this didn't split the continent in every direction in twain.
Did you say that the big pieces floating up and down, does there seem to be a pattern, or does it seem chaotic? Like we described it as a lava lamp before, which is pretty chaotic. Are the pieces slamming into each other periodically, or are they just missing each other? Or something sending them apart from each other?
You do see some of the smaller pieces, like some of the pieces that are small enough to be less than probably 30 or 40 feet wide. They have a tendency of colliding with other pieces and bigger pieces. But the big chunks, like the peaks that you see, the islands drifting, they tend to have a much more established like clearance. Like they come nowhere near each other. And by what arcs that you have seen so far, you judge that there's almost like of the stable pieces, so the bigger pieces seem to be undergoing some sort of like a cyclical, I would almost call it an orbit.
Does it seem like I'm sorry, go ahead.
Like they're orbiting the storm, the eye of the storm.
Okay. Does it seem like they have their own gravity? Like some of these big chunks have different things on them. Are things floating away from them? Anything that's not rooted down, or that everything seemed, from what I can see, pretty stable, as if each one has its own gravity, even though it might be floating.
From what you can tell, and they will allow like some of the bridge watchmen will allow you to borrow like a spyglass or something to look closer. There does appear to be vegetation on some of the bigger islands, and you can tell that the vegetation grows only on the top side. So you gather from that like there's probably some sort of gravity on the islands themselves. Like you're not just floating with the islands when you're on the islands.
Okay, yeah, that way the lighter stuff are
Yeah.
flying around. And one more question: does any of the vegetation look like there was a structure underneath and just vegetation is growing over it, or are there any structures that look like they're not natural?
Roll me a perception check. It's difficult to tell. You swear you spot a couple of signs of like maybe some sort of like a trail, or every now and then you catch glimpses from the extreme distance using the spyglass of maybe like moss grown or vegetation covered stonework, but like then the islands kind of like turn or shift, and whatever you saw is no longer as clear.
Okay. I think I still have my owl.
Yeah.
And what's the closest island to us?
The closest island is at least 30 miles away still. The closest large island. There are smaller chunks here and there, but they're not large enough to more for maybe one or two people can stand on them.
Okay. I'll let other people go. I'm gonna do some math.
Thalia, you try and recall what you've heard of the Shattered Peaks, apart from the standard knowledge of that it's some sort of it contains some sort of like a holy site for the Order of Eos. You don't quite recall any other specifics about the place. Yeah, well, I mean, an 8 is a pretty low roll, so yeah. Yeah, but no, you have heard that the Goliaths do range around this general region. They're not a part of Helios. Like they don't pay fealty to the Empress. But however, Helios doesn't really like care about them to a certain extent because they don't technically own any kingdoms. They're just nomadic tribes. They lack organization, so they're not a threat to the Empire. So the Empire doesn't care about them. Yeah, you've never heard of like the folk moot or anything like that. You just know that nomadic Goliath bands roam the land surrounding the Shattered Peaks. Yeah. So the captain, the captain is talking to the XO, and the XO says, "Should we continue forward onto the way station, or should we investigate the folk moot?" And the captain says, "Well, why don't you ask our passengers and let me know what they decide? We are here to convey them to their destination after all." And he says, "Aye, Captain." and then he goes and basically finds. He asks Brody, "Where are your friends?" Or rather, Halfling, where are your friends?
He'll kind of look down and sheepish at that, and he's like, they don't really like me, so I'm staying up here out of the way.
At this point, he spots Milo, and he asks Milo. Yeah, he relays the information about the folkmote to you, about how it's not unnaturally. It's empty when it should be full of tribesmen. And he asks if you and your companions would want to investigate such an oddity, or do you just want to continue onto the way station? It is a slight detour, but
I'll have to get with my group, but it is fascinating.
he does mention the fact that if there are any threats to be aware of, the nomadic tribesmen of this land are likely to be much more aware of it than the garrison up at the way station.
Will they kill us and eat us when they find us?
He shakes his head and he says, "No. The Goliaths are warlike people, but they mostly keep their warring amongst themselves, vying for territory and game, etc."
I've only heard stories of them. Let me talk to my group.
All right.
Isn't it dangerous for you to go over there? I mean, we seek out this kind of stuff, but is this something that you want to get near?
Well, we'll keep the airship drifting adrift, and we can lower you down on a platform. That should keep us safe enough. I don't think the tribesmen carry anything that could threaten the Talon.
You wouldn't just leave us there, would you?
No, we're under commission to convey you where you want to go.
Oh, my ghost would come back and kill every one of you.
He grins, kind of like lopsided, like he's not entirely sure if you're being serious or not, or if you're joking.
I'm just kidding. I don't have a ghost. And with that, he would walk away towards his friends and
Alright, so
explain what we were
I'll just
talking
say
about.
you find the rest of your party easily enough. And what do you say to them?
You want to meet Goliaths or look for them anyway? Presuming we have the whole group together.
Yeah.
Detours don't always work out for us, but
I would say every time we try to stop and do something, something awful happens. And would the whole ship stop, or how would we get down there to meet them?
well, they hover near, close enough. We'd have safe passage there, and they said they'd wait for us too. Isn't that nice?
Well, as nice as they would be, aren't we on a bit of a timetable? We have to be there at a certain time to make sure we can protect the temple.
You are.
Perhaps we can check it out on the way back when we have more time.
Well, the thing is we have a day or two before we can even get to the before the bridge even forms.
Yeah.
What's the worst that could happen?
Don't mention that. That's
Our-
just gonna curse us.
Our ship could blow up. We get attacked by crazy assassins that are Goliaths. They could try to eat us. I mean, I don't know much about Goliath, but
Well, they said they are warlike, but they don't just go around killing.
I suggest we stay on the ship until we're done. Job's too important.
Might be magic items.
They might be able to
Place.
get us. They might be able to help us cross.
This place is full of magic.
Exactly. We should stay on the ship.
My favorite part is Obadiah's deep distrust of magic.
K3 wants to help.
However, I'll go down with you, but I do reserve the right to say I told you so when something goes bad.
Oh, we know something is going to go bad. They're missing.
Oh, I didn't know they were missing. Oh, so we're investigating. I thought we were just going to meet them.
But they're not where they're supposed to be, according to the captain.
Well, I'd hate to something had happened or we could have helped them. But I really... fine, let's go.
Yeah, we know something bad is going to happen.
Keep a positive attitude. Like, I'm positive something's gonna happen.
You're positive something bad is going to happen?
Exactly.
Do you think the captain or the XO might lend us some of those dragoons to go with us?
Only one way to find out. They seem real concerned about it, so they've passed by here before, and they know these these giants.
I think the best way to explain the context to you, to provide a little bit of context, is think back to the days of like the olden days of Greece and the Olympic Games. Just you know how they have an Olympic game once every 4 years where all the kingdoms of Greece would meet to participate in the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
Just imagine if 1 year you turned up at the amphitheater at the Olympic Games ground and it was empty.
Then you win by default. Gold medals for everybody. Very well, let's go investigate, but I'll let Thalia ask the captain or XO if they'll lend us some dragoons.
Yeah, so do you guys go back and find the XO?
Yeah.
Alright, so yeah, the XO nods and says, aye, we can deploy them. However, if we deploy the Dragoon, the steam Dragoons rather, we can deploy you some of the Marines, but in order to deploy the steam Dragoons, we need to land the airship, and I'm not quite sure if Captain is inclined on touching ground. At least not down here in the open.
Well, then you could just lend us some Marines on foot.
He nods his head and says, yes. How many squads do you think you'd need?
I don't think we'd need that many. I would just, in case the shit hits the fan? No, they don't have
We're
fans.
carrying 5 squads of 4, not counting the Dragoons.
2 squads, guys? 8 guys to go with us?
I think 3 squads. It will form. So we have 3 squads with us, and then we have us as the tip of the spear. Keep an eye in each direction.
It's not a bad idea.
Alright. So yeah, okay. So the ship would detour, start heading west. It only takes about half an hour to get there. And as you come up on this quote unquote folk moot, it is almost like a natural depression in the ground of a large stony granite basin. For whatever reason, largely uncovered by snow or ice drift. The edges of this basin form these almost like these stepping piers, like plateaus, basically. Think of it like a kind of like one of those open top strip mines, the ones with the massive ramps. It's kind of like that. The entire place probably is about the entire basin is probably like 500 or 600 feet wide, with like 3 or 4 tiers headed down. It's largely empty, although there are obelisks posted at irregular intervals, and not necessarily in any particular pattern. And you can even from this distance you can tell that there's runic carvings on the obelisks, but you can't quite make out what they are from this distance. So you guys gather in the boat bay, where the Marines basically hang out. Three squads of 4, as well as yourself, kind of like pack themselves onto this kind of like this skiff, and then the airship comes down to about 90 or 80 feet above the ground, and then a bunch of crewmen hoisting cranks and pulleys lower you down on this skiff from the rear of the ship, until you touch the ground. You glance about, standing in the base of this Folkmoot. The wind howls, like as it blows through whatever crevice and stuff. The nearest obelisk to you is about 30 feet or 40 feet away. It stands about 10 to 12 feet tall, like 3 feet wide, and is slightly tapered near the top, while rounded at the bottom. The Folkmoot seems abandoned. Doesn't seem like it has seen use in weeks, if not months. There are signs that it has been used in the past, like like maybe a year ago or maybe 2 years ago. Like there are signs where old fires might have been, places where there might have been set up some sort of like a stall or a big pavilion tent. So sure, let me roll something.
Is there a big tree with the words Croatan carved into it?
So yeah, you nick a spyglass. Is there a big what?
A big tree in the center of the thing with the words Croatan carved into it?
I don't get the reference, but no.
You know what? You wouldn't get the reference. It's a not civil war. It's a revolutionary American thing where a village went missing, and the only things in the left was carved in a tree was that word.
Oh, I've heard of this story before. Yeah, there was some village, some town or something, right? And there's also a similar story about that in India, where I think it was India, right? Where an entire city of like 5,000 something individuals just vanished overnight.
This definitely wasn't overnight. This was after a couple months, maybe even years.
But yeah, where was that up to? Yeah, so what are you guys doing? As the 3 squads of you, the 4 push out from this platform, and the skiff kind of starts pulling back up to the ship, and the ship starts to pull up and gain some height to where it's about maybe 200 or 300 feet above, well out of range of normal conventional archery. And the squads on the ground kind of square out and form a perimeter. What are you guys doing?
I would be Ralph. would be surveying, even as we were coming down, surveying the area, flying at first in kind of a concentric or spiraling circular pattern around the immediate area, and then kind of going down lower, just ahead of us once that was done.
All right.
I would guess.
Roll me,
Oh, sorry.
roll me a perception check for Ralph. And what's Obadiah doing?
I'm just kind of going, kind of look around, shrug my shoulders, and cup my hands together and just yell out, "Hello!"
Hello, 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 hello,
See if-
hello.
Yeah, see if anyone is in the area.
You notice immediately that the basin itself is naturally acoustic, and you suspect that there's probably somewhere in this basin, a particular place in this basin, where if you stood and you yelled or spoke, the entirety of the basin could hear you quite easily. But you're not quite sure where that acoustic focal point is.
He's tone deaf. He doesn't know.
But yeah, Milo, you spot. Ralph rather spots one of the particular obelisks looks to be in two pieces. The base of it is still attached to the ground, but the top of it has shorn off and fallen over, and it can see some detritus around the base of this shattered obelisk. It is about 200 or something feet to the northeast, near the far side of the basin from where you guys landed.
So the obelisk, does it have any arcane inscriptions, anything like that?
You mean you study the closest obelisk to see if the runes on it, if it's magical?
Yeah, just to see if it's more just like a totem type thing that's just a non-magical marking, or if there's actually something magical.
Roll me an Arcana check.
I probably would have to look through his eyes at that point once he discovered something. Would that be?
So you're looking through Ralph's eyes to look at the shattered obelisk to see if it has runes on it. Okay, just roll me an Arcana check. That's fine as well. All right, so your owl flits closer to the shattered obelisk, and it sees that there is indeed carvings on it. They don't appear to be any magical glyphs that you know of, and they don't possess the telltale characteristics of any kind of arcanic carving. There's almost always some sort of like a geometric nature to arcanic coverings. These are more almost like you would hazard a guess to be some sort of like ritualistic markings, or maybe even like totem markings or shamanistic markings, or maybe it's just like gang signs, like Bloods and Crips.
Tagging the laundromat.
Yeah, but your owl does get close enough to spot that, to make out what is the detritus surrounding the obelisk, and it appears to be various implements of war, like spears, axes, shields, and etc., and helms, but without fail, every single one of these items has been broken in some manner. Some obviously deliberately so, like the spear has been like snapped in half, and the axe is like twisted, and the helm is like shorn down one side, and the shield is split in two. And they just seem to be thrown like in a loose circle around this shattered pillar.
So that kind of answers my question, because this doesn't look to be like this was intentional. This doesn't look to be like one of the pieces of debris one of these
Yeah.
smaller things came down and hit this accidentally. Somebody destroyed this on purpose.
Yeah, indeed. Although there are no bodies, so
Is there any blood?
doesn't appear to be any blood.
Have the owl look up, or I look up, I guess it would be.
Okay,
See
yeah.
if there's any bodies floating up.
No, there's no bodies floating, and you're not close enough. You're still on the exterior of the rim around the crater.
Okay.
are
I
Islands
would have
above.
Ralph.
Actually, there is an island above your head, but it's not directly above. It's far to the east, and it's the highest island that you can see. Like it's way higher than the rest of them. And judging by the angles of looking, this island is outside the crater's perimeter. Maybe just. And it must be big. It must be a big island for you to be able to see it from this distance, from your judgment.
I'm sorry. How far away did you say it was?
The big
one
island.
that's up.
It's on the far side of the crater, so like 100 miles away.
Oh wow. Okay. It's got to be huge. I will send Ralph back to the group and start relaying everything that I've seen so far.
Okay, so yeah, you relay that there's a singular pillar that's been vandalized, for lack of a better word, like 100 something feet to the northeast. There are various other pillars around, like spread out in a disorganized pattern, but none of the other ones look like they have been deliberately vandalized.
What do you guys think? No bodies. There's always bodies. Not this time.
Well, it looks like whatever this one represents, they don't care for it anymore, broke it and left.
Brophy's gonna shyly speak up and kind of glance at Obadiah and then be like, maybe someone chased him out and broke everything.
It's possible. And in my head, this is all like snow covered, but I don't know if there's actually snow there.
No, surprisingly, this area seems largely barren of snow. Instead, it's just raw, naked rock like marbles.
Oh. Well, then I'm going to look for any tracks whatsoever, since I know it's not covered in snow.
Yeah, sure. Roll me a survival check. All right. Interesting. So you kind of like poke around a bit and search out in like an expanding pattern, and you do see signs of activity. You can't quite tell how recent this is, but you hazard a guess that somewhere in the ballpark of the last couple of weeks to maybe a few days ago, you spot the tracks of a party of maybe a dozen or so broad, large-feeted individuals headed towards from the west, headed towards the direction of the shattered pillar.
I'd point that out and say, maybe you can your owl can get a better view, see what's over there.
Milo nods and sends the owl off in that direction.
How much weight can the owl carry?
700 pounds max.
Which direction?
I'm sorry, what direction was that again?
To the west, I believe you said.
So basically going to see where the tracks came from.
Yes.
And you said that owl can carry 700 pounds?
No, I'm kidding. The owl's weak. Give me 1 second.
Honestly, can hold like maybe a pound.
All right. So, yeah, the owl flies west for how far can your owl fly from you, by the way?
Let me see. It's at least a mile, I believe.
Okay, roll me a survival check for your owl to see how well it follows these trails.
Loading up.
Oh, I will roll something. Okay. Milo, high or low?
Always high. Milo high.
Okay. All right. So, your owl flies west following these trails. And it gets about maybe a couple of 100 feet out of the basin before it starts going to snowdrift. And not soon after that, your owl loses the trail of this party. However, roll me a perception check for your owl. I believe he has advantage on this roll, right?
I believe so. Let me see. Advantage, yes, on perception checks that rely on hearing or sight.
Yeah. So it's sight. Actually, no, not just sight. Yeah, not hearing. All right. Well, the check is 10, so your owl loses track of the of the trail, but as it kind of like circles to see if it can pick up the trail somewhere further along, it notices do crows exist in Arctic conditions? I don't think so, right?
Don't
I
think
don't know.
so.
In Game of Thrones, they're at the wall when they fly them.
Well, that's because they're pets.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Unless they're three-eyed ravens. But I'm sure there's owls, like big or falcons, big predatory animals.
yeah, there's definitely different birds that stay north. I'd have to look it up and see.
All right. Well, regardless of which, your owl spots signs of some kind of a battlefield, or at least the remains of some sort of battlefield. It sees the telltale lumps of bodies, and detritus laid out in a pattern that looks to be the results of some kind of skirmish. Probably another half a mile away. Maybe not half a mile. Half a mile is quite far. Like 2,000 feet away. No, that's half a mile, right?
That's more than half a mile. But I mean, like a few hundred yards or something like that. A few football fields away.
Yeah,
Is it too close?
3 or 4 football fields away. Yeah.
I
On
would
the
have
side,
the owl
on the
go
side of like
well.
the slope.
I can now no longer see through its eyes or anything like that. So I can't tell it what to do. So I guess once it found something, it would just come right back.
Yeah, it come back to relay to you the sensation of discovery, uh, uh, caution, and the concept of dead things. like dead things, not like undead things.
Well, I think I found him.
How so? Which direction? That direction the that the tracks lead to?
Yeah, Ralph just went there and I think he found some decaying corpses underneath snow.
Oh well, that sounds lovely. Shall we head that way?
Uh, we could. Perhaps we found what we were looking for.
Well then, I suggest we head out, and I'll kind of wave them to the grunts that we're heading in this direction.
All right. They will. So, do you tell them to? Are you telling them to follow you, basically, or?
Pretty much.
All right. The person who normally appears to be in charge of the groups nods to you, and kind of do you go ahead of them, or are you kind of just like in like a formation and there's a squad ahead of you?
I mean, Milo isn't a warrior, but what he was conveying before, probably from things he's heard about and read about, would be that we take point and we kind of form a diamond pattern with each one of those groups, kind of keeping an eye on
The flanks and the
direction
rear,
of the
yeah.
diamond that they are.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sure. So yeah, it takes you a couple of switchbacks to get out of the basin, like up one of the ridge, switch back around up the other. It's like the place in Fallout 4, you know, that quarry.
Oh yeah, that fucking quarry.
But yeah, you get out of it, and then it takes you like 10 minutes trek or so. The airship shadows you from overhead, but doesn't come down really far enough. You suspect that it'd probably be able to aid you, but if you get into a melee with enemies, it probably wouldn't risk firing into the melee and for fear of causing friendly fire. But yeah, soon you come across this scene that your owl found, and yeah, it looks to be a small skirmish battlefield of some kind. You find the decaying, snow-covered remains of like 17 or 18 Goliaths. Roll me a survival check, I think, to get a gauge of what happened. I think actually anyone could roll this.
Instead of rolling for that, can I roll to see if they have like if they have do they have tattoos at all? Can I tell?
Yeah, they all have tattoos.
And can I see if they have like the same tattoo, like in a certain same place to mark like maybe what tribe they're with?
Yeah, they all have similar looking tattoos, similar patterns, and similar designs.
Brophy wants to kind of search the bodies a little bit, see what they have left on them.
Okay, so most of them are dressed in crude, primitive hide armor. They have like iron shod axes, like primitive but well cared for and well made. Obviously, nothing as effective as worked steel, but surprisingly well crafted. Obviously, with much craftsmanship put into it. A couple of them are carrying like it would be a disservice to call them longbows because, like, you know, you've seen longbows. I mean, a short bow is a longbow for a halfling, but like for a human or an elf, there's a longbow, and then there's this thing, which I suppose you could call it a great bow. it spans like 6, almost 7 feet.
You could shoot Brophy.
It could shoot Brophy. Yeah. Yeah, but all they appear to Obadiah, as you survey the situation, it appears to you like this group was ambushed. They died in a defensive column like pattern, and they were ambushed after leaving the folk moat. And of curiosity that you find is that many of them, in fact, if not almost all of them without fail, have wounds very familiar to you. They appear to be gunshot wounds.
Well, I'd point that out right away to my group and the Marines. Who has firearms out here this far? Do we know?
The private who's nominally in charge of this outing. His name is Lucia, Lucia. Private Lucia, first class, would inform you. No, the Goliaths are not armed with firearms. It would be foolish for us to sell such things to them.
No, come here, Luca, come here. I'm gonna show you something. Do me a favor. You see that giant hole right there in his chest?
Yes. I can see the hole. Yes, and it's clearly a gunshot wound.
Okay. Well,
Goliaths should not have firearms. I'm not saying that they can not have firearms. I'm just saying that they shouldn't. In fact, I'm not even sure if they're and he like gestures down to one of the dead Goliaths, slightly swollen fingers. I'm not even sure if those things can fit in the trigger guard.
Well, do we know anyone stupid enough to sell them firearms, or maybe who'd be out here hunting them?
He reaches up and like messes around with his cap a little bit, and he says, "Well, there's always assholes looking to make a profit."
Not really.
But well, most Goliaths have this thing. Like you I don't suppose you've dealt with them before.
I know nothing about. That's why I'm reverting to you.
Yeah, they have this thing about like macho stuff. Like they think guns are like a coward's weapon. They prefer to punch each other and other kind of stuff.
Oh, they're a bunch of savages. Okay.
Well, I wasn't going to say it, but
I don't think these ones will care.
I suppose you're right.
Milo, Milo's looking over at the guy that Obi was talking to, Lucio, and asks if the Goliaths had competition, non-Goliath competition.
He says, "Well, I'm not exactly sure. I do know that they often fight amongst themselves, but it's typically that's not to the death. That's like it's more of a sake of like competition. In fact, they love fighting amongst each other for competition. There are other critters up here. I once saw a cat, but like it was like the size of like a war horse, and it had teeth as long as your leg, like this." And he does the incisors. But none of them use guns.
First class Luca, do you have a field knife?
Yeah, he pulls it out, and it's less of a field knife than it is a small short sword.
I want to start cutting open one of these dead Goliaths to see if I can pull out the bullet and see how big the round is.
Sure. It takes you a couple of tries, but you find one with a still mostly intact round in there. It looks big.
Well,
It
that's
looks-
interesting.
It looks. Actually, you know what?
Chicken butt.
What check would this be?
I say it could be gunsmithing.
Sure. Go for it. Gunsmithing check. All right. You find a familiar-looking round to you. It's on something of the order of magnitude of a Snider rifle round. However, it's slightly stubbier than you expected it to be, and that's not from like deformity from striking something. You suspect that it's probably not fired from a Snider rifle, but something else entirely. But it's in the same like size category as your rifle.
Oh, well, I guess I'll have to talk to Battlestone when I get back. Because whoever shot these guys have a gun about as big as Griswold's Revenge, and I wouldn't want to be at the business end of that.
Judging by the pattern that they died in, that this column died in, you suspect that the battle was short, so there probably was more than one of these rifles. All right, Brophy, roll me a perception. And I will roll something, actually.
Don't forget I've got vision out to a mile.
Yeah. We'll roll perception for... I'll roll it with advantage, just because there's so many of them. Okay, so 20. Excellent. And then I'll roll something for something else. That's completely unrelated in that you guys don't need to worry about.
Lol.
I can do that.
Alright, so Brophy, you warily survey the surrounding ledges and places where you think ambushers could have been hiding when they attacked this party. And you spot two heads. At first you thought they were rocks, but then one of the rocks blinked. About 300 feet away, up on a ridge side, and the heads are just kind of like just peeking over the rim of the ledge down at the expansive party. And it appears to be just watching the scene.
Brophy's gonna let out a small yelp and say, "They're up there!" And he's gonna point, and then he's gonna dive to the nearest cover and hide.
Okay, so you yell that out. Half of the Marines wheel around and train rifles at where you're pointing. And the rest of you turn and look, and you can't tell what he's pointing at because the heads are gone.
That wasn't me.
I will pull Griswold's Revenge off my back.
All right. And then the private sends one of the squads up the hill while the others kind of like spread out and cover him. And then one of them gets up at the top of the ridge, pokes over the edge, then like bends down to look at something. Then he like pulls out like from his belt like a speaking cone, and just calls down the hill. Yeah, something was up here, but whatever was here was gone. Looks like it made a run for it. Headed south.
How far away are they right now?
They are like 300 feet up the side of the hill,
Yeah, yeah.
towards the south of you. And then after a moment, the person comes back with the cone and says, "It has like big footsteps, like this big." Does the like the fish trout thing,
Well, shall we go hunting?
and when he spreads out his like arms to indicate like how big, like it's like the size of his larger than his torso, so like 2-3 feet.
I say we go hunting.
Oh, you're liking this now.
Well, I didn't know we were going to go hunting. I would have said yes right away.
And Milo's looking at the rest of the group like, is Brophy still hiding?
Yep.
He's looking around for Brophy and looks at Thalia.
Thalia shrugs and just follows.
All right, so are you headed up the hill after these tracks?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I am going to cast my mage armor.
All right. So you cast Mage Armor. Fantastic. All right. So you guys get up to the top of this hillside, and the group, the squad that went up there is waiting there for you guys to arrive. And the others are kind of like following you up the hillside, and you see what appears to be some like scuff disturbance mark of someone possibly crouching or kneeling down at the hillside, and then footprints leaving, heading towards the south in the snow. Footprints, like I said, like well, not meter, but like giant-sized footprints, headed away towards the south without much care for subtlety. At a quick stride, like each stride is like the distance between each stride is what, like 5 or 6 feet.
How difficult is this for us? Is it a pretty steep climb, difficult terrain?
I would say it's difficult terrain. It's not like you don't need to roll any checks for it, but it's rough enough that it's difficult terrain.
I would send the owl on just a little bit ahead of us, maybe like 25 feet, just
Okay.
surveying what the tracks and following it along.
Yeah. Your owl and Brophy can roll a perception check, just because Brophy has such. Brophy, did you follow the group?
Yeah, he would have still been in stealth, but he'd be following and keeping an eye out.
Okay. So yeah, you have that far vision thing, so you can
Oh,
roll.
God. I'm too focused on hiding.
Where would Brophy have put in that spy glass he nicked earlier?
I don't know.
Probably just slung over his back. Even folded is probably as long as his torso.
I'd ask him if I could borrow that.
He'll kind of eye you and hand it over with a shrug.
I'll look in the distance with it, if you don't mind.
Can you roll me an intelligence check? No, I'm just kidding. Everything looks really small for some reason. No, I'm just kidding.
Guys, these guys are super far away. I mean, I don't. Oh, wait. Oh, it was backwards.
All right, yeah. So you can roll me a perception check.
What's that?
Yeah,
God.
so, we're right. Hey, for some reason, Everything looks super far away.
I'm gonna, I'm
This
gonna,
is clearly broken.
yeah, I'm gonna hand it back to Brophy and say, well, I don't know where you got this, but get your money back. It's broken.
Brophy's gonna chuckle and then hold it up to him, turn it the right way, and then look through it.
All right, you can roll it again.
There we go.
There we go. So yeah, Brophy, you spot in the distance, headed away from you at a quick clip, like maybe 500 feet away, is the shape of a large humanoid. It's dragging behind it what appears to be what you could charitably be called a log, or a very large stick. Of oddity is that this this large humanoid appears to have two heads upon its shoulder, and the two heads appear, although you can't hear from this distance, through your eyeglass, they appear to be arguing with each other.
Can I make some sort of knowledge check to see what
Sure.
this is?
It would be a nature check, I think,
Lol.
or maybe a history check, one or the other.
They're both the same for me, so what the heck? That's with a -1.
You've never heard of a two-headed giant before, but you know of giants. It's the natural enemy of halflings.
Of course. He's gonna call out in outrage. It's a two-headed giant. I mean, what the heck?
How far away is this bad boy?
500 feet away. Now that Brophy has pointed out, yeah, you can definitely see it. Although you can see like it's slightly behind like a little hillock, so you can only see like the heads and shoulders.
I'll look at everyone and say, do you want me to shoot it?
Brophy's just gonna emphatically say yes. He hates giants.
I'll kind of look over at Milo and even Luca. I know his name's Lucia, but I'm gonna call him Luca anyways because I'm a dick. I can hit him from here, guys. I just need to know if we want to aggravate a two-headed giant. I mean, I want to, but
He shrugs.
Does he have a gun?
well,
No, he has a tree. It's okay though. You can still shoot it.
Saw us and went in the other direction, and
Oh,
didn't
obviously.
kill the Goliaths.
I can't. Yeah, and I can't just wound him from here, especially with this thing. But I could definitely take him out if we want to search him. But I don't want to start a war. Like if I don't want someone to shoot me in the side of the head when I'm walking back from the store.
So,
He has
Brophy,
two. It'll be fine.
Brophy, your knowledge tells you, your knowledge, prejudice, tells you that giants are evil, wicked creatures and need to be exterminated.
Yeah, I'll relay.
What
my
do
feelings to the
I
group.
know about giants? Not a lot, but I might know something.
Yeah, roll me a history check. It would be.
Hey, I've always wanted to shoot these things.
You've heard of giants. They tend to largely leave the civilized lands alone. And you've heard that the lower tier of giants, like hill giants, etc., have been known to raid human settlements. But typically, they leave human settlements well alone because when they do get up to mischief, the higher tier of giants tend to crack down on them. But largely, giant society leaves humanity alone when they can. As for two-headed giants, the 20 history check is pretty high. You've heard of some giants born are born of some sort of like a. You're not sure if they're like a separate category of giants altogether, but you've heard of these giants called Edens, and they're two people and sharing one body,
What do you
and they
think,
tend to
Thalia?
be they tend to be extremely ill-natured.
What do you think, Thalia? I don't want to start a war but I do want to shoot him.
They are also, by their very nature, very solitary, because they can barely stand each other's personality, let alone other giants.
Obi, you're gonna have silence on it, or is it the loud one?
Oh no, it's silence.
Okay. Are
You-
we within? I think we said we were pretty far back. Are we
500
within 500 feet?
It's about 600 feet now.
Well, that's just my range, so I can hit 600 feet with this thing.
So if you want to shoot it, you have to shoot it now.
Yeah, screw it, and I'm gonna use a grit on it.
Okay. So
Oh, I didn't mean to use sharpshooter. Too late. I rolled it.
you raise your rifle, you sight down, and you pull the trigger, and there's this oddity. Like I'm not sure. I don't think this is the first time you fired this, but
Oh,
you pull the trigger, and for a moment, all noise ceases around you. Secede? No, that's the wrong word. That's Confederates. Never mind. No, ceases. All sound ceases about you for like a split second, and you watch the round, like, well, the rifle bucks in your hand, and you watch for the round to hit, but a plume of snow erupts in the hillock that's
bloody snow
between
blind.
you, and
Can I try one more shot, or is he out of range now?
you realize that the snow drift, that the decreased air temperature is affecting the flight profile of your trajectories.
Alright. Yeah, if I can, I'll try shooting him if he's still within range.
It would be, at this point, he would be about 680 feet away. So you
Bugger,
could
he's
still
at
shoot
range.
at him, but it would be at disadvantage.
Well, no, because my max range is 600.
Oh, right, yeah. So it would be out of range.
Bugger. The snow blindness. Ugh. I don't know. Do we want to keep going after him, or? I say we go after him. So,
Yeah, why not? Let's go after him.
that's what we do. Let's go.
Investigating the dead Goliaths turns into hunting a giant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, what is your movement speeds?
25. Wait, no, 30.
25 here.
The halfling's faster than all of you.
The owl has 60 feet.
Oddly enough, the short guy.
To be fair, though, it's because I get fast movement with my class.
Well, that and there's resistance when he walks through the snow. There's less, his weight pushing down on the snow.
I swim through the snow. What are you talking about?
Yeah, see. I get these crazy friggin'. Oh, you know what? I didn't bring them. I didn't bring my snowshoes with me. They're still on the ship.
So your owl, from a better vantage point, it soon becomes apparent after about chasing after this thing for about 5 minutes or so. It soon becomes apparent to you through your owl that this thing is outpacing you guys. Not by like a huge margin, but you're definitely not any closer to catching up to it. In fact, it seems to be like gaining a lead on you.
Well, I would be willing to track it for a couple days, but we don't have a couple days to track it.
Brophy's gonna yell out that its mother was a mule.
Nice.
How far can you yell? 1,000 feet?
Well, you said there's great acoustics in this this thing.
Yeah, but you're no longer in the moot. You're out of the moot.
Brophy's gonna sleight of hand one of those the megaphones from one of the soldiers and then yell it.
Okay.
Yeah. Milo's
Make-
looking around for all the other creatures and things we're attracting.
Make me a constitution check. Just to see how loud you can bellow.
So not a saving throw, but a check.
Yeah, just a check. Yeah, so you bellow in what language?
Let me check and see which ones I'm proficient with. Only common and halfling, so common.
So you bellow, your mother was a mule. Mule, 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 mule. It echoes off some of the crest of the crater, and reverberates around a little bit, but there's no response, and the figure proceeds to drift further into the distance as it runs pell-mell away from your giant party of heavily armed soldiers.
Brophy's gonna sigh in frustration and tell them to order the ship to shoot it.
It is a pretty large target.
Your ship can definitely catch up to it and shoot it if you wish.
This should be surprising the heck out of you guys with how he's been so against violence, by the way. This is a complete 180 from his usual demeanor.
I'm gonna just kind of sigh and say, well, he's out of range, and it's like, well, it's not worth hunting him anymore. There's no point in shooting him with a ship. There's no sport in that.
Yeah, his is about the sport. Alright, so do you guys A, return to the ship, B, return to the moot, or C, something else?
Probably return to the moot.
Yeah, the moot.
Yep.
Isn't it all moot anyways?
Boo that man. Boo that man.
Disadvantage. Negative inspiration. So yeah, you guys return to the moot. Takes you half an hour or so to backtrack. You pass by the battlefield again. Do you want to do anything at the battlefield, or do you just go past it?
Does it look like they have anything of significance, kind of like a dog tag, like a personal identifier?
They do. You can tell most of their weapons and axes, spears, etc., have near the bottom a hole drilled through the handle, and then in the hole is tied off like a loop, like a ribbon, that's tied around a eagle feather.
Brophy will probably collect the eagle feathers and let the rest of the party know that he's doing this in case we come across any others. They can be returned.
All right. So you can add
Actually, how many weapons are there? I might just be able to
There.
take the whole thing.
there are 17.
I've got a 17
split between
strength.
axes, spears, and there's one sword. In fact, there's one sword, and unlike the others, this sword is made out of steel.
Does it look like the whole weapon is the identifier, or is it just the feather?
It just looks like the feather. It looks like like this seems to be like a motif towards this particular group, is that they all carry on them either like a necklace with an eagle feather or weapons adorned with eagle feathers.
Okay, so yeah, I'll just take the feathers. And what type of sword is this?
It is just a long sword, of a make that you kind of recognize. You've seen a few of these around. You've seen a few of these around Winterhold. Not anything particularly strange about them. It's just something that you can find in shops at Winterhold.
Okay, well, it looks odd enough out here, so I'll take it with it. It might have been like a commander sword or something.
All right, so I assume you guys return to the moot.
I am, but I'm going to constantly be looking back to see if we're being followed by that big bastard.
Okay, perception check.
At the battle site,
24.
were they all seem to be warriors, or was there like a shaman or any magic users that appear to be, if I'm looking at the corpses?
They all appear to be. None of them are carrying. Let's just say this: none of them are carrying anything obviously shamanistic.
Okay.
All right. So when you get back to the moot, again, there's 30 or so obelisks. One of them is shattered. I assume you guys go and look at any of them in particular.
We really couldn't tell anything super fancy about the shattered one, right?
You guys never really approached it except the owl.
I guess I'll take a look at the shattered one.
All right.
See exactly how it was broken, like if someone used like metal or just straight brute force.
Judging as you guys like get up to it and study it closer in depth, it looks like a bunch of really, really strong people just took sledgehammers to this thing. Judging by the spalling and the indentations, someone really went to town on this thing. And all about it, like I said, are the remnants of ruined weapon and armors, almost haphazardly thrown about, almost insultingly so, for warrior culture. And there is actually a single, what appears to be like a cured bear skin, that has been draped across the top half of the broken base. And there's the strong smell of urine emanating from this bear skin. And the bear skin has a singular large scroll across it, some kind of runic writing.
Hey, Brophy, you want a free bear skin?
He's just gonna give you a scathing look. And then Brophy is going to take a look at the hammer marks. Does it look like a standard size hammer or something much
Looks
larger, like a giant would use?
It looks like big hammers. Something probably a Goliath would use. All right, so what languages do you guys speak, by the way?
Sorry, not Kith3. Thalia actually speaks giant.
Oh, nice. I don't think Goliaths speak giant though. Let me look it up one second.
They do.
They do?
They speak common and giant.
Excellent. Okay, excellent. All right. So, Kithri.
Thalia.
Kithri. Well, you're the one who you keep saying Kithri, so. Thalia, you understand. In fact, you've for whatever reason, you've been completely silent about this entire time. All of the obelisks have clan names, are adorned with clan names, and some of their more notable accomplishments, and some of their more notable figures in this clan name. This particular one. Oh man, I got something caught in my throat. This particular one is to the clan of the Storm Hunter. The broken one. The broken one is to the clan of the Storm Hunter. And the symbol drawn across this urinated bearskin that has been thrown on this defiled obelisk says in giant, "Traitors."
That's interesting. So she'll actually say this out.
Oh, well then, Obi's gonna stop trying to figure out ways to fix it if they're traitors.
Problem solved.
And you do find somewhere, like, actually the obelisk. You recall that the obelisk that you landed near when you first came down on the skiff was to the clan of Eagle's Reach.
Man, we should have had Thalia yell at the Etten. She could have seduced it. Maybe.
Doesn't work for everything.
Maybe for her bard.
Sorry, but I just work better as a solo. I don't do double dates.
That would be really like if you connected with one of the heads and the other was a jerk.
Or gets jealous and starts fighting.
Ugh, man, awful.
It'd be a weird Tinder profile.
Amusingly to you, one of the pillars, one of the less ornate, less ostentatious pillars, the one of least carvings on it, is to the clan of Goatfriend.
Giggity. Bunch of satyrs running around.
Hey man. Is there like a main like building or like a tent, or is it just all abandoned?
It is all abandoned. However, you do see
Or yurt?
there is an odd looking structure. It's not a building per se, but it's a stone arch. Have you ever seen one of them? Like Stonehenge.
Yeah, once we go check
Yeah.
it out.
There's a flat stone that's laid on top of two obelisks. It's about 8 or 10 feet tall. You need a rope or something to climb up into it.
Well, or a ring of jumping.
Yeah, your ring of jumping. Sure, you use your ring of jumping, and you leap up onto it, which is kind of ridiculous looking. Because isn't Obadiah fairly overweight?
He is. He's like 280.
So it's just this fairly overweight man suddenly leaping up absurdly high.
I mean, it can't be any worse than this halfling just outrunning everybody else.
So see if there's anything like written up top, any script.
There is no script on top, but you notice standing atop this little stone arch, you gaze in all directions and you can see every single obelisk. And in fact, you can hear fairly well all the various little side snippets and conversations that the various soldiers, the Marines with you, are having amongst themselves. while they wait for you guys to. Well, they secure the perimeter and just kind of like wait for you guys to do your thing.
I want to ask if I can borrow one of the megaphones from one of the squads.
They all turn and look at you, like they all heard you.
Oh, this is gonna be so good. Hey Thalia, how do you say, "Hey twin head, your one head's uglier than the other"?
So she says it out.
Then I want to take one of the megaphones in the direction we saw the end go, and then Broken Giant say that, and see if anything happens.
Roll me. Actually, I'll roll something. High or low?
Low.
Okay. There is no obvious response.
So he's not
But
charging back in our direction.
your voice echoes out from the folk moot like a giant natural amplifier. It resounds off the neighboring ridges and mountain peaks, and it echoes for at least a good half a minute. It reverberates around the lands.
I won't chuckle to myself and say, "Well, that was worth the trip up here," and look for a way to get down and without breaking my ankles.
You're not gonna ring up jumping down?
Well, I mean, I will if I have to.
No, it's fine. It's only like 10 feet high. Is like basically jumping from the first story roof to the ground.
Then let's be fair about it.
Yeah, easily enough.
Bugger.
It's not the most graceful of landings, but you don't hurt yourself.
He's not the most graceful of men.
All right, so you hear from overhead someone call out from a similar device on the ship. I trust you're amusing yourself. You hear the Exo further call out. But are you about ready to get going?
I'll look around to the group. You guys had enough?
Brophy's stomach
Yeah.
starts growling.
And yeah, Milo nods.
Yeah, then I guess I'll holler up. Yeah, send down the skip.
Before we leave, Brophy is going to ask which of the pillars was the one for the Eagle Clan.
It is the one at the southern southwestern. Shit, I didn't even know what it's called.
Well, Brophy is basically just going to go to that one and find some like flat white rocks and just kind of make, I don't know, like a little altar or whatever, a little display with the feathers.
Right. Do you keep any?
No, if we get caught, it could be a bad thing. They might think that
Okay.
we killed him.
Okay. Interesting. I'll note that down. But yeah, soon enough the ship descends to a manageable height. It lowers the skiff / elevator, and you guys pile back aboard. No one interrupts your recovery. In fact, the place seems airily abandoned. Obviously, there's no giants ambush you guys. Roll me a perception check, everyone, actually. Oh, Obadiah. You as you're ascending near the top of your skiff, you just so happen to be glancing inward towards the crater, and one of the nearest larger islands, for a second, like it's hard to tell because some of these islands are have like waterfalls coming off them, which is kind of weird. Like you're not sure exactly how that would work. Wouldn't it run out of water sooner or later? And others of them, still have some of the maelstrom magical fog like clinging to the sides of them, like pouring off them. But you could swear that one of the islands has a smoke plume coming from it.
I would point it out to everybody.
Yeah, you guys can't quite tell what he's pointing at.
Hey,
Although
bro.
Thalia, you kind of you kind of can see what he's pointing out, but at the same time, it just looks like fog.
Okay.
Before I start calling you Thalia again, Kithri again, lol. Right, so you guys get back aboard. The EXO checks to see if everyone's accounted for, and he pipes up to the bridge to resume their course. And if you return to if you actually go to the bridge, Obadiah, do you do so?
No, absolutely. I would go tell the captain everyone I saw some sort of smoke coming from one of those islands.
Yeah. You notice as you tell them that, you notice that you are headed towards that island, and they as you say that, the EXO and the captain give each other looks, and then the captain looks to you and says, "That island," and he points towards the island that the smoke is coming from.
Yep, that one.
That's not good. That is the island with the way station.
Bugger. Well, wait, like, is it like a huge? It's not just like a campfire smoke. It's like a big.
Yeah, it's a substantial plume.
Well, I would ready the ship for something.
All right. He takes your warning seriously, and he calls the ship to ready station. And yeah, again, everyone rushes about. Brophy, your kitchen adventures are interrupted by a bunch of sailors jumping from their tables and grabbing their gear and running to and fro. Actually, this might add to your kitchen adventures because there's a lot of spare food just abandoned on the
and I can
tables.
move through a space of any creature larger than me, so
Yeah. So you have a merry old time just ducking in between people's legs and filching their lunch.
Kind
But
of like
yeah.
a Slimer.
But yeah, Milo, where were you when this happened?
I think near Obi.
Okay. And Thalia, where were you when this happened?
Probably going to the bathroom.
That's
Well,
excellent.
It must be
So-
the pee because girls don't poo.
So from another bathroom, from another head, as they call it, the door flies open, and a mostly undressed elf, who you haven't met before, like late middle age for an elf, wearing very little except for a wizard's hat for whatever reason, goes running past you pell-mell, dripping water, soapy water everywhere, cursing under his breath in Elven, as he runs past you down the corridor towards one of the restricted sections that Milo was trying to get into at the beginning of this particular Talon adventure.
So he's naked, but with a hat on.
Mostly, he's like clutching like a robe or something in front of his privates, and his other his other hand is keeping his hat from falling off his head.
She yells after him, Oh no, she probably wouldn't yell after him, but she'd probably just do a nice whistle.
Let me roll.
He feels sexually harassed.
He glances backwards to see who whistled at him, and then flushes more red before he ducks around a corner. And he ducks through one of the restricted section doors. You catch a glimpse of what's through the door. Roll me a perception check. All right. From what your brief glimpse through the room, there is some sort of a large circular chamber. It reminds you of something out of a more complicated magician's lab of some kind. There's some sort of construct in the center, mechanical construct, not like a mech, but like some sort of a big machine in the center of this chamber before someone else like hurriedly holds the door shut and closes it. And then you guys start hearing the sounds of the bladders, the blisters being, the contents of it being pumped back into the bilge, and the sacks being withdrawn back into their storage compartment as the ship begins to reverberate with this pulsating sound that you become familiar with of some sort of arcanic levitation allows the ship to move about without the blisters.
How much? I'll ask the captain. How longer till he thinks we actually get there?
He says, within 10 minutes or so.
Fantastic. I'm going to go grab a quick meal, and then I will be on the bow.
Okay. So yeah, you have enough time to quickly do something. You go there and you find a comatose Brophy.
Yeah. I'll just kind of sigh and like see what's left, and like grab like a meat pie, grab another one, and put it in my pocket, and then head to the top and eat the one.
All right. So how does Thalia beyond that respond to, or I guess it's a bit of a rude question, but does the bathroom break take 10 minutes?
Probably not. After the bathroom break, she probably actually would have headed down to the kitchen as well.
Okay, so you guys all meet in the kitchen. I'm just gonna say you guys all meet in the kitchen.
I mean, we were down there. We did things. We were ready for lunch.
Right. So yeah. You proceed to probably the bridge or the bow, and you guys arrive looking out portholes, looking out observation windows. Your worst, well, not your worst fear, but your fears are confirmed when you arrive and find the way station, as they call it, which is just a small, like almost like a Roman style centurion fort, like wooden palace, although probably not as big of a scale. Instead of like hundreds of tents, it's probably, there's enough room for maybe like, there's 3 buildings within this like palisade, a wooden palisade, and a particularly tall one. The 3 buildings themselves look to be charred and burnt out wrecks. They were wooden buildings, but they have burnt to the ground. And the stone keep, the tallest structure, the stone keep, is where the smoke is emanating from. And one side of it looks caved in. Actually, no, it doesn't look caved in. You're familiar enough with explosions, Obadiah, to know that something blew out the side from inside. Something blew out the side of the tower, and it's partially collapsed. And there's like smoldering smoke pouring forth from within. Not enough for that there to be. You think there would be like an active fire or inferno inside, but just like what remains of the fire, like things still smoldering.
I'll say like, oh bugger, and I'll explain everything to Milo, but he probably already knows it. But I'll do it while I'm still chewing my meat pie. Well, you see all the debris on the outside, it exploded, and It must have been a while ago because there's no Inferno raging, and man, those things are delicious. Did you get one?
Milo's just taking it all in, trying to make his own mind up as to what happened, but also taking Obi's comments in.
Yeah, so the XO finds you guys and he says, this is ill tidings. We need to drop the entire complement here and find out what happened.
Well, I can tell it blew up from the inside, and it must have been everything I just said to Milo. I'll say to him.
You say it again. And he nods and he says, yes, I share your assessment. We're going to swing by close enough and drop the entire complement. Will you be joining them?
Well, I mean, this is where we were supposed to end up, or is this just the way station?
Well, the ship was going to moor here as we cannot actually take the ship any higher on the blisters. It's something, it's complicated, but it is to do with and he starts going to technicalities about
Gotcha.
like the gas ratio mix and like
treaties and yeah, I got. Oh, well,
no, you gather it's more of like they can't technically go higher, like the ship just doesn't do well at that kind of altitude.
Like as in a hot air balloon can only go so high before it pops.
Oh, well, this is where we gotta go, and we might as well go touchdown with the Steam Dragoons.
He says to you, the ship's mage can keep the ship here at this altitude without the blisters for another half an hour or so, but without the tower to moor on, we'll have to pull back to somewhere near the moot, some flat terrain near the folks' moot.
So it's either get off now or get off like in a couple days when they come back.
Yeah. He does hand you, however, he reaches out and hands you a stone on it that's affixed to a clasp on the end of a chain. He says, "Here, take this. We'll loan this to you. This is a ship stone. You can use it to speak with whoever's on duty at the helm if needs arise for us to come back and pick you up here. And it's a sending stone, basically. Except it only sends to one person."
Very well, thank you very much. And I said, all right, I guess we'll meet. Where's everyone assembling for the drop off?
They're assembling in the boat bay. We're going to drop hot, so there won't be time for the skip or anything. I hope you guys do well on a rope.
I'll look at him. I'll look down at my belly and smack it and go, well, it doesn't seem like I have much of a choice. And
Yeah.
I will offer to go down first.
All
Because
right.
if I fall, I want to hit the snowbank and not some dude in a dragoon.
Well, perhaps you want to let the dragoons go down first, but never mind. And he ushers you to the boat bay. You guys meet in the boat bay, and all the 20 Marines, the 16 Marines, the 4 Sharpies, and the 3 Steam Dragoons appear to be currently. Well, they would already be armed up, but they're currently affixing ropes to harnesses, like almost like child swing harnesses kind of thing. I don't know if you've seen like.
I'm assuming they're
What
like
are they called? Like
the skydiving harnesses.
basically, you stick your legs through them, and they look super uncomfortable because they like go around your crotch. But then like you can hook like a carabiner in front of your pelvis and drop.
A harness?
I think
Yeah,
it's
harness. Yeah, and the Steam Dragoons are positioning themselves over some sort of square on the ground that has florid yellow and white painted lines in a box around it. For whatever reason, you're not entirely sure why. So, do you guys grab a harness and hook up?
I will do so, but I will not be happy about it.
It's super uncomfortable.
Oh, bugger, this gets right up in your... Oh, this is how it's supposed to be?
It's too tight.
Just can't. Do you have a big? There's got to be a bigger one.
What would a standard athletics check be to just climb down?
Yeah, you can just climb down if you wish, but not all of the soldiers are wearing harnesses.
Well, what would the DC be?
It would be. Let's see. It's not in a storm. You're not under fire at the moment, so it'd just be 10.
Yeah, Brophy just zips down the line real quick.
Okay, can you even fail?
I've got an athletics of 6, so I technically can.
So you roll me an athletics. Well, first what happens is as the groups assemble around the steam dragoons who are standing on these bright yellow and white painted squares. There is a klaxon sound as the quartermaster calls out for everyone to stand clear, and then he does something, and the boxes themselves fall open from the bottom, and the steam dragoons just drop through the bottom of the hull into open air and fall about 60 feet before landing on the ground with resounding slams. You gather that there's some sort of magic involved because just before they hit the ground, they slow down momentarily, almost like as if they're under the effects of a brief featherfall spell. However, the rest of you don't have such a spell at hand. Instead, the others kind of jump through this hole, trailing the rope down, get to the bottom, and then detach their harnesses. When you do so, yeah, for you especially, Obadiah, it's super uncomfortable. The harnesses are not made for a person your size.
Cut it into my leg.
Milo's
lose-
going to use his squirrel suit.
Oh yeah, you just jump down, use your squirrel suit. Yeah, so Milo does his squirrel suit down, relatively easy. Ralph flies wingman for him in formation. Brophy, why don't you roll me your athletics check unless you deign to use a harness. So yeah, you clamber down easily enough. This is not the first time you've slid down a piece of rope.
As Brophy is climbing down and screaming "woo," he sees the guy in the suit, and his eyes just go wide, and he almost slips from sheer shock. And he's like, "I want one!" All this yelling while he's sliding down.
Well, you'll have to kill. You have to kill a few people.
But violence is bad. Just give me yours.
Nah. It's come in handy. We'll find you one. We'll I'm sure we'll be attacked or ambushed at some point.
I'm sitting up at the bridge like Carl Pilkington about the bungee jump. I'm just not happy.
So yeah, you guys get to the ground. You guys fan out in a loose formation, and the soldiers around you glance like Pippin asks from inside her suit through the speaker, what, like, how do you want to do this, basically?
I like to think before everyone's gathered but me, I'm slowly making my way down, bitching the entire way. I swear if I fall, blah, 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 oh, my legs is cutting into my legs, and like everyone's looking at me, and I'm making a giant scene.
You lose like your legs kind of go to sleep a little bit.
Yeah, like
the circulation gets cut off.
when my feet touch the ground, I can't like stand up, so I fall to my face. Bugger, bugger, bugger. What are you guys looking at? Help me up.
Is there snow around?
Yeah, there's a collection of snow. It's not very deep snow, probably like less than a foot.
Does a 10 hit when he has no dex?
What are you hitting?
I'm hitting Obadiah with a snowball.
Well, no, it doesn't, because you
No.
have disadvantage because I am prone.
No. Yeah, so it does not hit him. Your snowball pops nearby him. And the ropes start coiling back up into the ship. The ship still remains in place. It drifts to one side a little bit and turns kind of like broadside onto the smoking ruin. You guys landed about 100 feet away from the exterior of the front gate, and the various groups of soldiers, the Marines, spread out in kind of like a loose line. One of the groups of soldiers keeps near you. I think Pippin and like one of the Seam Dragoons and a few of the Marines, led by Pippin, stays near you guys, while the rest of them kind of like advance in kind of like a cautious line towards the smoldering keep. Do you guys follow them, or do you remain in place and wait for them to investigate?
Brophy would kind of hide and start scouting himself.
Okay. So do you sneak on ahead? Like,
Yeah,
okay, nice.
really.
All right, roll me a perception check as well as you kind of like duck in through the various clefts and snowdrifts and get ahead of the group. Yeah, the main gate looks staved in, like something large. Not something large. Like there was a large explosion directly in front of the gate that sundered the gate itself and blasted it inwards in an arc of splinters and shattered stone, shattered wood. You can't see any signs of people inside, although you do see the signs of like debris, gear, bloodstains. You don't see any immediate bodies at hand from your brief peek through the gate. Do you go in?
How far away is the party? Just kinda
They're about
scouting.
60 feet out at this point, I guess.
No, he would hang at the gate.
Okay. So does the party go with the soldiers, or do you guys wait for the soldiers to kind of like enter and secure the place first?
I like to think we're using them as cover.
Okay. So okay, you go with the soldiers. All right. So yeah, you guys enter the place. Like I said, there's 3 buildings, two on the left, one on the right. They appear to be like large bunkhouse type structures, except they've burnt to the ground. Like they're just a pile of burnt wood and ashes. You see the signs of some bodies, some like scorched skeletons in the debris and the detritus. Directly ahead of you at the back of this fort is, like I said, a blown out tower, 3 stories tall, smoldering with smoke pouring forth from out the shattered hole inside of it. Masonry litters the ground in all directions from the explosion. And the soldiers and yourselves kind of go through the fort, this little place, and you find about a dozen uniformed bodies in various stages. Some burnt, others mutilated.
On the scale of explosion, how much is it like the size of the other explosion back at the other city?
No, not quite as large. Like the tower is still intact to a certain extent. It's just that it has a big hole blown out the side of it,
Gotcha.
and the top has partially collapsed. Like the very top floor has kind of caved in a bit. Whereas the other one was like big enough that the entire gantry just basically just fell in on itself. maybe a quarter as powerful as the explosion you witnessed back in Winter Assault. So yeah, the party, Pippin can't fit through the tower gate, sorry, the door of the tower. So he sends, he calls for Lucia, Private Lucia, to clear the tower. However, something odd happens. Lucia walks up to the front door, and he attempts to open the door, and then he calls out that it's locked. And then one of the soldiers approaches with like a crowbar and like wedges it in the door and starts pulling at it, but has no luck. And then Pippin calls for them to, unless you guys interpose, I'm just going to continue. What Pippin and tells them to make room and walks up and reaches over his back of the steam dragoon and detaches this big fucking axe. Like it's almost like a glaive in the size.
I don't think we have anyone that can. Well, I don't know if Burfy's let me know that he can use lockpicks.
Yeah, he offered to teach you how to use them.
That's true. Well, Burfy, why don't you give it a shot real quick?
Do you have any tools? I don't.
Well, can we retcon that I didn't give back what's her name her tools because she's not here?
Sure, you can do that.
Yes. Here we go. Here's Seraphina's.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
Seraphina's been super fucking stealthy. Like, you guys haven't noticed her at all.
It's just sleight of hand in this edition, right?
Correct. So yeah, Pippin will make room for you. You are a bit confused because as you work the mechanisms, you quickly come to the realization that the door isn't locked.
I have a question. Has everyone been trying to pull it? And if so, I'm going to push it.
You push it and the door opens.
I'm going to just face palm everybody and then step out of the way.
Alright.
Actually, if I rolled high enough, wouldn't I have relocked it?
No. No. Before you manage to relock it yourself, you realize that the door wasn't locked. So you step out of the way for the soldiers to enter?
Yeah, and just kind of like shake my head.
As I do so, I'm going to kick the first guy who tried to open it.
You kick Private Lucia, who
Come on,
yelps.
Luca, it's push. It's push.
And he says, I did try and push.
Get in there.
Alright. He tries to enter the door, but he runs up against some sort of barrier and falls on his ass. And he just says, "What the?" And he scrambles to his feet.
I help him up once that happens. I take back what I said. And I'm going to, see if I can step through it.
Yeah, you can step through it just fine.
Well, this is a fine how do you do.
Wait. He's like, "What? Help!" And he tries to, he puts his hand up against the door frame, like the portal of the open door, and his hand appears to hit some sort of impermeable barrier.
I'm going to reach and grab his hand and try if I can, like Nightcrawler or, Kitty Pryde him in.
Yeah. When his hand reaches the space where it stopped before, you feel there's some sort of resistance.
Oh, well then. Let's see if the rest of my group can do this. Milo?
Yes.
A couple of the other soldiers try to follow you in, but again, they seem to encounter some sort of barrier.
Hey, Milo, there seems to be some sort of halfling female in here. She seems lonely.
I'm detecting a lie.
No, and she seems desperate. Hold on, where's it at?
Oh,
That
God.
sounds about right.
I mean, technically, we have to roll insight. He's trying to actively bluff.
I mean, that sounded about a 9 for deception.
Brophy's just gonna sigh and like roll his eyes and just walk in.
Okay,
The
so
hand
yeah,
outstretched in case it smacks into it.
you managed to walk in just fine. Pippin at this point speaks up and says, I'm not sure it's wise to continue without backup.
Well, I don't believe backup can make it through. Thalia, Milo, try to get in here.
Hesitantly, Milo does. He's kind of looking around as he's entering.
Okay, so you find yourselves in a foyer of some sort. In fact, the foyer looks odd. It seems much more ornate, ostentatious. It feels like a foyer that you would find in a front of a like a law office or a mansion of some sort instead of like a stone keep. Does Thalia follow as well?
Yeah, she does. She's cooking something.
Okay,
I'm sorry, what was it?
it's fine. I assume you're busy doing something.
Yeah, what do you need? I was just putting something in the microwave.
No, do you follow the group?
Yes.
They're entering the tower. Okay, so yeah, you guys find yourselves in a foyer of some sort. The ground beneath you is like mosaic pattern stonework in like a diamond pattern. Directly ahead of you is a set of closed double doors, and directly in the corners of the left and right are a singular door that you suspect leads to some sort of like foyer office, like a receptionist or clerk or something. It's definitely not something you would have expected to have found in a stone keep in a way station. Seraphina follows you guys, and all of a sudden she appears from nowhere.
Like the Raven familiar from Order of the Stick.
Several other soldiers tried their luck at going through this portal, but none of them. They all appear to run into some sort of impermeable barrier.
I'll yell back to Pippin, don't worry, I'll bring you something pretty back.
He calls out, I really hope you know what you guys are doing.
We do this all the time, we'll be fine.
Brophy looks at him like he's an idiot.
You first, Brophy.
So which
you
door?
gotta-
Which
You
door
gotta
are
grab
you
a
guys
hold of
opening?
him, don't you?
I guess just the closest one to the right. Brophy's just gonna go and listen.
All right, you listen at the door. There's no sound from the other end of the door.
Brophy kind of ish sorta knows about traps, so he'll kind of try to see if there's anything there.
Okay. You do find a trap. It is,
Alright.
however, not the kind of trap that you were fearing to find. The trap consists of a small chain affixed to a nail directly above the door jab, like the top of the door, on the interior, so on the other side. And at the end of the chain is attached a small bell.
Well, maybe someone didn't want to be surprised.
A devious trap indeed.
I thought you were going to say it was a string attached to like a stick attached to a bucket of something.
So Brophy is going to kind of motion for somebody to lift him up so he can reach it. And how he's going to disable this is he's going to try to clasp or grab the clasper inside. So when he yanks it down, it doesn't really make any sound.
Right. Yeah. There's no check for this necessary. You do see.
I'll pick him up.
Yeah.
Come on, little fella.
So you lifts you up and you reach in through the crack. You grasp the chain. You lift it up a little bit and you grasp the knocker. And you just remove the entire thing from the chain. And you swing open the door easily enough and reveals a small but well-appointed office space of some kind. An L-shaped table at the very far end of the room. The room measures about 15 feet by 10 feet. So it's a bookcase.
Once I put him down, I get a little bit of the heebie-jeebies, and I put on my mask and take out my gun and strap it to my back.
Let's doodle a little bit, shall we?
You may think the mask is too much, Brophy, but you haven't seen the things I have seen. And the things started crawling into my mouth.
He suddenly starts suffering PTSD flashbacks.
That was not a good day for Obadiah.
Actually, why don't I just do this? Let's go to this page. Let me know what you can see, by the way. Can't see anything, right?
Black, just a gray hall.
Yeah,
Good.
just the gray.
All right, so you're in a small foyer. The doors are directly behind you, through which you can see Pippin and others and co watching you with some trepidation. Directly ahead of you is a set of closed double doors. And to the right and left of you at the corners of the room, this door is opened by Brophy. This door remains closed. Within it, there is a bookcase against this wall. And then there is a fairly ostentatious, fairly well-looking L-shaped table. And two chairs, forming what appears to be a well-appointed reception room of some kind.
How much does this look like the office of that great house guy of Alexandria? Sure, it's not as nice, but
Not as nice, not as well appointed. But there's definitely a resemblance. Like, there's nothing in here that cues you to like that would tell you that this, but it does appear to be like maybe like a minor noble's house.
what are the odds that Obi, being a super distrustful of magic, would think the door itself was a portal to somewhere else? And could he roll anything to do anything about it?
Roll me an Arcana check.
Oh, sweet. That's amazing for him.
You're not quite sure. You do, however, feel that it is a lot warmer in here than outside.
With the 16, I will feel that I won't be stupid enough to bring it up to Milo and bring up my idea. Maybe we step through something that really isn't there. Does that make sense? You know, like, I mean, it sounds stupid, but this doesn't make sense. What you'd think you'd find, and they couldn't get in.
You see things that aren't there all the time.
And I'll just kind of like squint at the old gnome and shake my finger at him and just say, "I won't mention it ever again."
You said that there's a desk in here?
Yep, correct.
So Thalia's going to be brave and actually enter and pilfer through the desk.
Roll me an investigation check. All right. Interesting. So you find a series of like basically memo notes and briefs and stuff like that, as well as like a couple of folders filled with documents. The notations and the notes all bear the embossed symbol of the letters L.A. No, not Los Angeles.
Are you sure it's not LV for Louis Vuitton?
Sure, why not? LV. Sure, we'll use LV.
So LV.
LV, but the V has a line through it, like an upside down A.
Wow. Oh well. She'll start sticking me in her bag so she can read them later.
However, even without bothering to read like very far, like any of the documents, like the notary paper and stuff like that is blank. Obviously, it's for writing on. But the other papers with writing on them, it only takes you a glance to notice that it's complete gibberish.
I'm gonna look for another door. Then we
Like I don't mean like gibberish, like words that make no sense. I mean like,
Was it like the Zodiac Killer manuscript?
yeah, precisely.
It's coded letters.
And you leaf through each of the individual pages and the like the manila folder or whatever, the binder, and it's just all gibberish.
She's
Just
still gonna take
reams
it and
and
stick it in
reams
her
and reams of
in her
gibberish.
bag.
Sure.
If she can't decipher them, she'll just give them to Alexandria.
Excellent. All right. What are the rest of you doing?
I'm looking for another door where the person that's gonna come in and kill us is gonna open up.
Okay, so you're opening up the left door.
Well, I'm not opening up. I'm watching it.
So you're watching with your gun pointed at the door.
Which way did we come
Pretty much.
through?
You came from the south.
Okay, well then Brophy is going to come over here and see if there's the same sort of trap.
Okay. Yeah, you warily. You don't need to make a check. There's no point of a check if there's no possibility of failure. You warily check the door, and no, this door doesn't appear to be trapped in any manner. Trapped. I'm using trapped as a quotation mark.
Brophy will kind of very gently and slowly check to see if the doorknob's locked.
Right. Yeah, it is unlocked. Although it does have a lock on it, but it is not locked. It has a keyhole, but it's not locked, is what I'm saying. You gingerly open a door and revealing to you what basically is a cloakroom of some kind. There's at the far end of the cloakroom is a what are they called, like rack, like shelves and like a bar and racks, and upon them are just cloaks of all kinds. In fact, some, like there's like a one of a cape. There's like one that has like, you know, like little tapered collars like Doctor Strange. There's like what appears to be like a ball gown, but the ball gown like is open all the way down the front to where you'd be almost embarrassed for anyone to wear it, because they would like, let's just say the belly button would be in sight.
Especially for me.
So Brophy would be fine with it then. He's basically just wearing a kilt.
And yeah, there's all sorts of articles of clothing. There's no really rhyme or reason.
Brophy's going to take the the cape and stuff into his backpack.
Okay.
I'm not going to steal anything, actually, and I'm just going to sit down in the chair in front of the desk.
All right. Much to your shock and surprise,
It's a
the
mimic.
chair underneath you moves.
I shoot it.
It molds to your frame
Oh, okay. Ooh. Oh, whoa.
and becomes the most comfortable chair that you've
Oh,
ever
oh,
sat in.
bugger.
And then you shoot it.
No. I thought if it was going to attack me, but it's moving. Oh, it even popped my back. Oh. Hold, and I start to fall asleep. It's so comfy, guys. This
Roll
is-
Constitution save
This
to
is the
save from falling asleep. Just
rolling con save for nap. Oh, it's nap time, guys. Kick my
No.
feet up.
you realize that you still have the house is not secured, or rather the tower isn't secured, and it possibly might be on fire, although you don't smell any smoke.
I'm gonna get up. I have the best idea ever. I'm gonna get up, and is it still when I get out of the chair? Is it still my size?
Yeah, it is.
What's your name? Brophy, come here, sit in this chair.
Brophy will shrug and sit in it.
All right. Yeah, it starts to morph until it fits his frame. It even has leg rest.
Will it fit into my bag of holding now?
Yes, it would.
And I'll say, all right, get out of it. Marlo, what are the odds of something bad happening if I put this in the bag of holding?
99.99.
Oh, then I won't. But I want to take this chair home with me.
Yeah, Milo. You can tell Milo's making fun of Obadiah Brophy.
Brophy's gonna smirk and kind of like hold his arm out for the owl and like indicate for the owl to sit in the chair.
Does the owl sit in the chair?
I think Milo would key in on what Brophy's trying to do, and he would instruct the owl telepathically to sit on the chair.
Telepathically, okay, yeah. Your owl lands on a chair, and it starts to morph into a weird shape until it just looks like it still has the chair base per se, and it still has part of the back is rather more flat and elongated, but where it's standing pushes up into something that you probably would not want to sit on, but the owl is perfectly happy to perch upon it. Like, I'm just saying that, like, I'm not sure how your asshole is shaped, but it's definitely wouldn't accommodate.
I'm gonna
But the
grab
chair
it.
itself is still roughly Brophy sized.
Oh. Dang it. It fit in the bag of holding. Nope. I know things can happen bad if you sick. I'm very, very torn.
Oh, while this is going on, Brophy is going to check this last door if it's locked. He doesn't even care about traps.
Okay. It is not locked.
He'll open it.
Opening it, you glance through and you blink in surprise as you find a well-adorned foyer of some kind. It is 40 foot long, ends at a set of double doors, flanked by a set of stairs leading to some upstairs location. The ground in the center of the corridor is covered in a thick, luxurious red carpet bordered by golden frills that's laid over this yellowish tile-like surface. And you glance through briefly, there is opening to your left and to your right to further rooms within this place. It doesn't take you. Wait, never mind. Let me draw this out. Like so. Like so. And the set of doors is like so. Sorry, no, shape. And then the staircases are like so. And red carpet, super fancy.
Brophy's gonna look back at the group, kind of like shrug, and then go over here.
All right. Does the rest of the group follow him?
Yes.
Brophy, you glance in through the door on your left. Let me just fog before this, actually. I don't even know why I'm doing it like this particular way, but sure, why not?
Because plot.
And I was fucking with you guys. By which I mean
We're all on fire and asleep.
I actually have a map. So you find yourself looking in on a well-adorned dining room, a long, ridiculously long table, lined each side with 7 chairs, and at the ends of which are 2 chairs at the heads of them. The tables themselves are empty. However, it is covered by 2 chandeliers that dangle from the ceiling, each impossibly beautiful, adorned with 100 crystals that hang from them, casting forth the candlelight, diffuse throughout the entire room in an even glow. An unlit fireplace sits against one of the walls, and a similar window. It's become evidently abundantly clear to you, any of you with any suspicion at all, you are not inside the tower. Wherever this place is, it's not inside the tower. Like, you don't smell smoke. The stonework doesn't fit. In fact, the dimensions don't even fit. Like, this wall right here would probably be like the edge of the tower on this side, except you can clearly see a door that leads further in.
Yeah, Brophy's just gonna stand there staring.
Okay. What are the rest of you doing?
I'm debating going back and stealing that chair. But for the time being, I'm just standing here.
So you're debating on going back and stealing that chair, and I assume you like glance back and forwards, right, at what's going on about you, and then back the direction. You notice in between one of your glances and your turnaround that the door that you guys entered in through is closed. Although you did not hear it closing.
I'll try to open it.
Right, you walk back and you try and open the door. The door opens quite handily, quite easily. However, the scene beyond the door is unrecognizable to you, because it appears to open into a bedroom.
I'm not going to say anything because last time I asked for anything about that, I was mocked. So I will just close the door and stay with my party.
You close the door on this bedroom, and then you just say nothing.
I say nothing. I just sit there and look at them. The last time I brought something up like this, I was mocked. I don't want to be mocked again.
All right. So what are the rest of you doing while he's doing? What's Milo doing? Rather, Milo hasn't really said anything.
The doors, are they? Is there space underneath the doors at all, or is it pretty much just totally flush with the floor?
Pretty flush, like a like a cockroach or something could probably squeeze through underneath there.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point. Like if I lay down on the ground and I look, I would be able to see that there's a sliver, like there's enough room
Yeah.
for an insect or something.
There's
to
enough room
climb
for an
under.
insect to fit through. Yeah.
So Milo is says stand watch for a couple of minutes. Let me try something. And if the party would agree to kind of watch over while he's there, he would switch out his owl familiar with a spider.
Nice.
And since nothing was really said about that the room was different, that like Obi looked at, that bedroom appeared, he would send the spider up there and then would send the spider underneath the door with the door still closed.
So back the direction that you guys came in through.
No, I wouldn't know about that. If I would have, I probably would have sent the spider there, but I'm gonna
Okay.
send him out to he's like scouting the room up ahead.
So your spider fits through the door easily enough, quite handily. It finds itself in a T corridor with a further set of double doors further ahead. The corridor itself is centered by a oval green carpet with runners going left and west and east, well, respectively west and east. You're not quite sure of the actual direction in this place, assuming you entered through the south. And I will reveal the corridor. Like that. Corridor is lined by 6 doors. Well, more than 6 doors. 8 double doors and 2 small doors. One of which you suspect links on to the door to the dining room. And the other one, obviously, is the one that the spider came through. All the doors are closed. And there's no one in the corridor.
So Milo, while we're all in the room that we're in, and while he sends the spider forward, he's looking through the spider's eyes, and then he's just relaying to the group what he's seeing up ahead.
All right. So yeah, you guys, he relays to you that there's a corridor up ahead, past these doors, but there's no one beyond them.
And after a couple minutes of just wandering around that hallway or whatever it is, the corridor.
One of the door opens as it's doing so, and a floating broom drifts out into the corridor and down the passageway away from the spider. And then the other door opens and the broom drifts through there and the door closes. By which I mean comes out through here. Actually, I'll draw on comes out through here, like so, and then goes west.
Did it appear to be actively sweeping or just kind of moving from one area to the next?
It just appeared to be moving from one place to the next. Although it didn't look to be moving in like a witch riding broom. It looked to be like an animated broom, like someone holding a broom walking.
yeah,
Like Fantasia, the animated
exactly.
brooms.
Yes. So after a while, I would have the spider come back from the same door that it entered the corridor from. It would come back to the group.
Okay. All right. So it comes back to you. What's the party going to do? Brophy goes to smash the spider.
I'll casually mention now that the the room we came through has now been changed.
Well, that's interesting. So let's go look at that really quick then.
All right. You open the door, and it opens to a bedroom. There are 4 beds in this bedroom, with chest little trunks at the end of them, and there's a fireplace. Well, there's the back of there's like a heating grate, from like a back of a fireplace. Darkened windows, and then there's some sort of alcove space that's at the far left end of the room. I will reveal it, and then I'll draw it to your attention. It is not for the sake of map's sake. It is not where that door is, but I'll link it to you. So it is room 19.
Huh. Okay. So she'll start digging through the chests then.
And I will actually draw an A on this door, and an A down here to indicate that they are linked.
Okay.
It's the Scarlet Letter. They're horror doors. Instead of corridors, they're horror doors.
Hodor.
Like I said, she's going through one of the chests.
So you open the chests. There is a plain set of clothing in each of the chests, as well as a small case with unused soap within each of the chests. There is a pair of socks in each of the chests. In fact, all of the contents of the chests are identical. It looks to be what you would give like a guest of your house. Yeah,
Is
it
one
looks the contents of what you would give the guest of your house.
by any chance is one of these halfling sized?
Yes, there is a halfling sized, a gnome sized, a female human sized,
Oh my god.
and a.
Fat man sized.
Well, I wasn't gonna put it like that.
I don't trust this at all.
At this, Brophy is just gonna kind of like giggle in glee and just literally just start running through the house exploring. He thinks this place belongs to him now.
I don't.
At which
trust
point-
this.
You guys all hear a voice, almost as if issuing from the air itself. A feminine female voice with a slight liltish accent, which I cannot emulate. But she says, "Welcome to my house. I hope you are enjoying yourselves." And those of you who have not run off into the house and are still in the foyer sees a figure almost materialize, corporealize at the head of the stairs. So the stairs lead up onto like a little balcony space that overlooks the overlooks the. I'll reveal the space basically so that you can see what I mean.
I want to just like panic, point my gun at her, and say, "Who are you, lady? And how did we get here?"
She laughs just like that. I'm kidding. She doesn't seem overly phased by your gun pointing. But she laughs a little bit, and then she says, "Why, you walk through the front door, of course."
Mm.
And he looks at Thalia, and says, "Not the brightest one, this one, is he?"
Thalia giggles. She doesn't say anything, but she giggles.
I pull back the hammer a little bit on the revenge.
Okay.
All Thalia can think of is the telescope incident.
And she says, "Please, what brings you to my establishment? Or what brings you to my abode, rather?"
Don't know. Proving that I'm a bigger idiot. I'm as big idiot as she thought.
Oh, we thought the place burned down. We wanted to check. Make sure everyone's all right.
She nods and she says, "Yes. It was burnt down. It is burnt down, rather. My apologies. These things, they get confusing."
I'll say. So you're here, but it's burned down. How could it be both at the same time?
And what is your name? You never gave me your name.
I have had and will have many names. But you may call me Lethano. Thalia, roll me a history check. You may have heard of her. Maybe. No, you haven't heard of her. There's like a spark of recognition. Like you've heard that name somewhere before, but you can't quite place it. And she says to you, "I have been." She pauses, and then she nods and she says, "Yes, I have been asked to observe your antics, your behavior, and render judgment."
Thalia questions judgment.
Yes. You see, certain parties are not convinced that the fates be placed in your hands. They would like me to administer a test, if you will.
And if we refuse your test, and you'll let us leave?
She grins, a mischievous grin, and she says, "Well, sure."
Because we got a timetable, lady. We got a job to do.
She nods and she says, "I understand. However, without my recommendation, my approval, my relayance of the results of such a test, you might find more parties opposed to your endeavors than in line with them, some of which you may not necessarily wish to anger. Some parties that you have already antagonized may be swayed, on my word, to abandon their schemes.
At that, Brophy comes popping out of nowhere, and he's like that stupid two-headed giant?
And she shakes her head and she says, No, no, dear. Halsel Nozzle is but a simple creature. He does nothing except what his, well, I would say better half, but he doesn't really have a better half.
Well, I'm going to put it out on the table. I don't trust you, lady. However,
She says, she responds to your I don't trust you, and she like immediately interrupts and says, "That's perhaps the first smart thing that you've said."
Brophy's gonna laugh out loud and be like, I like her.
I don't.
By the way, what race is she?
She looks to be elven, although her features are a little bit strange for an elf. Slightly more elongated ears, like sharper, more defined cheekbones. Everything about her profile her facial profile is like an elf, but leaner and more angular.
Brophy is just gonna kind of like look at her with his head cocked and be like, you know, you look like an elf, but you don't look like an elf. I can't decide if I actually like you or not. What are you?
She nods.
You're a racist, Brophy.
What? Elves are stuck up. Look at her. And he points at Thalia.
And I let out a chuckle.
Thalia is a half elf.
Yeah, I'm a half elf. I'm only half stuck up.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
For me, mumble, mumble, mumble.
Not what I am. What do you
So
think,
it's-
Milo?
Go on.
Ask Milo what he thinks.
Well, who are these other parties? Because some groups maybe have to remain antagonistic if they're going to be against. I'm trying to put this in. Some groups we would not want to join with, and some groups are opposed to each other that we might already have alliances with. So
She nods.
who are we talking about?
She says, of those you should be most concerned about immediately, that you should know of, is your own, let's just say, factions within your own organization have not been amenable to your current activities. I could convince them otherwise if I felt it was necessary, it was warranted.
I'll kind of
Others,
look over to Brophy and say, I don't believe he's part of any faction I'm aware of.
Yeah,
No.
speaking of that, these guys tricked me. They said that we were going to a hot springs, and then I wound up here. I don't even know how.
He won't.
they
go
are
away.
telling the truth. There is a hot spring in this place. She gestures further to the east.
Brophy's gonna kind of like eye her speculatively. I don't know. Last time I was told that by someone that looks kind of like you. It didn't turn out well.
So, discuss amongst yourselves.
So
Would you like? Oh no! She actually no. Before she says that, she says of the other factions that are that I have influence in. I won't necessarily name them, but let's just say a couple of them have fairly high reach, shall we say.
And what do you
Those-
get out of this?
Those are undecided as of yet. And when you ask her what she gets out of this, she tilts her head sideways. And for a moment, there's something alien about her. Like almost like it something not an elf is in an elf shape. The like mannerisms that don't match an elf. And she just she has her head tilted kind of like on an angle sideways, like examining you from a different angle. And then she just says, let's just say I have my reasons.
You're not subservient to them, are you? Or are they
Shakespeare.
using you?
Says, no. I am operating on their behalf because interests align.
What would this test entail if we choose to take it?
It is a test of courage, of ability, of grit, of ingenuity, perseverance, other such words such as that. She says that.
So Brophy, in this ensuing silence, is going to figure that she was observing us from the very get-go. And he's going to kind of like yank the, or reach behind his back and yank the cape out. And he's like, by the way, can I have this?
She says, yes, you may keep it for as long as you have it.
He immediately puts it on.
All right. It trails a little bit. It's not made for your size.
Of course.
I mean, it still has the. You took the one with the tapered collar, right?
Yeah, the one that looks like the Doctor Strange.
So it's like a ball gown. It drags in the ground behind you, but it still looks super cool.
He's going to look at Milo and he's like, hey, you think you can make these into one of those suits?
You're asking Milo if he could make something in
The squirrel suit, the cape that he has.
I didn't make this one, but perhaps I could replicate it when we're not so busy.
Yeah, and then she says, so discuss amongst yourselves if you are inclined to proceed with this test or not, regardless of which, I will wait. And she just stands there staring at you guys, waiting.
Brophy's going to ask again, pardon me if I'm being rude, but would you mind answering what you are?
She says, no, that is a reasonable question. I am Lethano.
Brophy just has a blank look on his face. He looks back at the group, see if anyone knows what she's talking about.
I've just been giving her the stink eye the entire time.
Have you still got your gun pointed at her?
No, I put it down.
Okay.
I probably put it down when we were mocking Thalia for being stuck up. But a heavy dose of the stink eye.
Brophy's going to be struck by inspiration. He's like, say, that open front pretty gown was yours, wasn't it?
She nods, and she says, "Everything in this place is mine."
Does that include us?
Shakes her head, and she says, "No, you're free to come and go as you please."
So a test. What
She
would
nods.
this? I always studied in wizard school before a test. Usually we had a little heads up as to what it would be about.
She
What
nods
are
her
you
head,
testing? Or
and she says, "I have been observing your lot for a small period of time, and I assure you, you are much versed in the peculiarities of this particular test."
Do you have eyes all over the world currently?
She shakes her head and she says, "No, no, only on things that And she stops speaking. And she says, "No, let's just say I watch things that are of interest."
You weren't watching last night, were you?
Can I like insight check anything like that I can glean just from being a cop that she's not saying, but like I might be able to pick up?
Yeah, insight. Uh it's hard to read her. Actually, I'll roll something. Da, 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 da. Yeah, yeah. It's difficult to read her.
Okay.
You definitely noticed, like, obviously noticed the pause of whatever she was about to say. You suspect that she's watching you lot specifically. But otherwise, apart from that, for what reason, you're not entirely sure. Your insight, you can tell that she obviously holds. I mean, even without the insight, you can probably tell she obviously holds no like animosity towards you guys. And it's instead the feeling you get is more of like a
She's aloof and
Like
doesn't really care.
aloof curiosity.
Well, if it's going to help us with the job in the long run, and this is apparently going to help us just in general in the long run. I mean, well, I assume I know the answer, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it. If we were to fail this test, would it be fatal?
She nods and she says, "Yes, the test could be fatal."
How many people have taken this test?
She tilts her head sideways. Like no, not like sideways, but like on an angle. And she says, "5 will have taken this test."
How many have passed this test?
She says, "That part is unclear." Six has no, wait, 7 have passed. Will have passed. Will have taken this test. And you asked how many have passed this test, and she says, "That much is unclear. 2 that I thought had passed, in retrospect, failed."
So I'm guessing it's not a pen and pad truth or false type thing.
She shakes her head. She said, and she repeats the entire spiel.
Gotcha.
It is a test of
Yeah, I got
you know grit and blah 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 blah. and other words.
Well, I don't like most things. I really don't like this, but I will go if we agree to do it.
Only if I get to be the Kwisatz Haderach.
She nods her head and she says, "I can guarantee you at the very least, regardless if you fail or succeed, I will implore the Scion to stop manipulating your memories." Does that sound amenable?
Dahlia looks sharply at her.
Brophy's gonna point to his chest. You mean the thing that did this?
No, Brophy, not that one.
I can garner you an audience with the being who was responsible for that. However, that is not attached to this current test.
Memnon, I keep saying that way. Brophy's going to frown and be like, whatever. I'm in.
I have a question there, Valos or whatever. I'm not good with names. Latho. Lithano. So you've been watching us for a while. When would you say you started watching us? Roughly, give or take.
She pauses and she says, "When is a difficult question to answer. Duration-wise, on and off for possibly a couple of weeks, maybe a month."
Do you know what happened to Arthur?
She nods her head in assent, and she says, "Yes, I'm aware of what happened to your stalwart friend. However, it is not my story to tell. It's not my tale to share."
I'm just kind of going to throw my hands up and go into the kitchen and look for coffee.
Okay. Sure, you go look for a kitchen. Which rooms do you look in?
All of them is where I find it. If you need me the way to start, I'll start in 7. Make my way up to 15, and then if I haven't found any coffee by then, I'll go in this door here.
Alright, you go in through that door, you find yourself in a small, some sort of a small ensuite of some kind. The lady doesn't appear to mind you just wandering off.
If I don't find coffee in there, I'll kind of poke my head around and say, "Where's the coffee?"
She claps her hands. Did that reveal it, by the way?
No. The door here.
Oh, you can see in that interior space, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Can't
so,
see there. I can see 10.
Okay, so I'll just reveal both of them in that case. Yeah, there we go. She gestures. So she's standing on this balcony, right? So technically, on your floor plan, she's like here basically, but she's up above you on the floor above.
Okay.
There's like the balcony wraps around the entire top of the green carpet, so you can. Then she like leans over the baluster and she points at this door. And she says, "You can find the kitchen through there."
That's where I go.
And then I will reveal. In fact, I'll use this revealing tool. It's much easier. And then I will write B here just to indicate the transverse side of the door leads to B. All right. So you go make yourself a cup of coffee in the kitchen. What are the rest of you doing?
Thinking about whether or not to take the game or not, or the test.
Do we have to take this test individually or as a group?
You can take it as a group.
Milo's gonna look around. He's not gonna be too far away from the group, but he's gonna look around for signs.
She says you can take it as a group or individually.
Are the chances better as a group, or are they the same?
The chances are definitely better as a group.
Milo's looking for signs in this place of the previous tests.
You search around for a little bit using your pet, I assume. There doesn't seem to be any indications. Actually, roll me an investigation check. That's fine.
I think it takes forever to load for some reason tonight.
Or you just like type in R1D20 and you just have whatever your modifier is on there.
The computer's locked up. Hold on.
Yeah, your sheet does take forever to load. Jesus. You know, I'm tempted just to switch back to the old sheet, eh? $1D10. No, it's a 1D20, man. Alright, alright, you glance around a bit and you poke in through the other rooms and you look around for any signs of what would like be like a previous test per se. You don't notice any kind of like, there's no papers, there's no implements. There's nothing that would clue you into what would obviously be a test. A few things does occur to you. The test maybe have to do with some of the strange nature of this place, like, you know, doors leading to different places. Possibly it has something to do with the garbled nonsense sheet of paper. Might be like a test of intellect, like decryption or something. You're not entirely sure. Maybe there's some sort of like numbers thing with how many chairs there are. Maybe there's some sort of color code thing.
Proofy's going to wander off over here.
Okay. That leads to some sort of just an open pavilion of some kind. You would think that like in a normal structure, the pavilion would open up onto maybe the exterior, maybe overlooking something, but beyond the immediate edges of the pavilion is just a thick, pervasive fog.
Curiouser and curiouser. I guess Brophy's just going to explore around, try to uncover the entire place.
Okay, sure. I'll just reveal the entire place then. That's fine. In fact, I'll just get rid of the fog of war, and then I'll just start writing down different letters as you find different structures linked to different places. Fog of war, and then maybe I'll use actual text instead of.
Wow, she has a car.
One moment, guys. Be right back. All right, I'm back. So, do you guys just are all splitting off and wandering off by yourself?
I'm going to try to stick with the main group as much as possible, but it kind of the group's kind of dispersing on their own individually. So,
Well, of the main group, there is just yourself, Thalia, and Seraphina, who's kind of just being a little bit quiet. Brophy and Obadiah have wandered off by themselves.
I would stick with the ladies, and then have the spider follow Brophy around just to indicate if she's all right.
You really want to do that?
Yeah, in fact, I would have the spider climb up on Brophy's shoulder, so they get real close, like
Really?
not where he's specifically feeling it or aware, but the spider's right there with him.
I'm going to come out from the kitchen by then with like a sandwich the size of a Dagwood and a huge like mug, like an oversized mug full of coffee, and go plop down in 7 and tell Milo there's a lot of food in there, but this sandwich looks amazing.
Oh, be careful! That could be infested with cackle fever.
I don't care right now. This is just all ridiculous.
And I saw bugs in here.
Well, if I die, I don't have to worry about doing this test, so I will risk it.
Man, those are some odd connections.
Yeah, so you guys gather in 7 to talk it over. The lady herself just seems to almost creepily
Watching.
just watching.
I'm gonna say hats off. It's not often you can find someone that has all the ingredients of a Dagwood.
I don't even know what a Dagwood is.
Oh, hold on. We'll link one.
From the cartoon, it's on a comic. It's like as big as a table.
And like, she doesn't even seem to appear to mind. Like, she's not impatient or anything. She's just waiting for you guys to make up your mind.
Thalia's up for taking the test.
That's a Dagwood.
What about the rest of you?
I think Milo would spend some of his time talking to her about the nature of her power, the how did she, come by it? How is it possible for somebody else to obtain it while we're waiting?
Her answers seem nonsensical and cryptic. Her reply is something akin to basically she was born with these powers, or rather, she's always had these powers. Achieves then. So yeah, what do you guys? So I guess like if you guys all gather in 7, I assume, place yourselves where you are basically, and then she will. I guess she will stand at one of the alcoves or it's one of the doorways and just simply wait for your decision. Brophy gets on top of the table.
Why not? It puts me at head height with everyone else.
Well, not Milo, and not Seraphina.
Well, it seems to me, if she has a house like this and powers like she has, she's probably not the one to take no lightly. She says she would, but I don't believe her. I say we do it and get it over with and get our job done.
Our decision could very well be part of the test.
Yeah, what the little guy said. So I think I'm in agreement. I think Brophy is. I believe
I'll do it.
Sally was. What did you say, Milo?
I think we're meant to come here and do this. Might get some people off our backs or create some allies.
What about you, Seraphine? I haven't heard you say much lately.
Let's just get this over with.
Very well then. I'm sure you can hear us, lady.
Yeah, she's in the room with you. She's got her back against like one of the walls, and she's just standing there patiently waiting for you.
I didn't make eye contact with anyone but my sandwich that entire time.
Yes, I trust you've made a decision then.
Very well, we'll take your test.
Excellent. Let's begin. And she throws a lightning bolt at you guys. And we'll pick this up next session.
Fantastic.
Lightning bolt, lightning bolt.
Specifically, she throws it at Obadiah.
He earned it.
So I would like... I'm going to be generous, Brophy. You're on a table, so you're on a non-conductive surface. So Thalia and Obadiah, I'd like you to make me a dexterity saving. The DC is not 9. Actually, is it 19? Holy shit, it's 19.
Well,
yeah. So you each take 24 lightning damage, and we'll pick this up next session. Or do you guys want to roll initiative now and then plan that out for the whole week?
I say we just wait till next week.
Okay.
Chaos seems to work with us.
On the downside, it's obvious that she's a power with, capital P. On the upside, it is 1 versus 6, 5.
Yeah, well,
If you can count the L.
well, at least 4.5, because since it has lost half my health. And probably half my dag, which you could at least let us finish eating. By
The
us,
dag-
I mean me.
The Dagwood is magically unharmed.
Grumble,
Your
grumble.
dexterity saving throw was to save your your Dagwood, and not yourself.
It did not go well. Well, that was fun.
Oh,
Oh,
sure. You know what, Milo? Let's just roll initiative for yourself and Lethano, and if you get higher than her, then I will say you're able to counterspell her, because it came kind of as out of blindside, out of nowhere. Like, you guys were just having a conversation, and then she attacked you guys. Oh, yeah, wow. Yeah, holy shit. Yeah, totally. You counterspell. So you guys do not suffer 24 lightning damage. As you catch the telltale like gesture and semantic muttering of a spell being cast, and you realize with alarm that it's some sort of high level or powerful evocation spell, and you throw out your hand in a gesture. Oh yeah, you throw out your hand in a gesture and disrupt the spell mid cast. She glances in your direction, and you can swear for a moment she gives you an approving nod.
that's fantastic.
And something
I'll let the
funny
players go first.
with the way that the components and stuff go, he saw her shuffling her feet to build up static electricity, and he drew a piece of metal at her to ground her.
Wearing a onesie.
Because that's actually the way the components go. Like, you've got to have like a match for a fireball, and you got to shuffle your feet for a shock.
I like to think, like during the first thing of people attacking, I'm just still there eating my sandwich because I rolled so low.
Yeah,
You don't even realize combat started. You're
I
just
don't-
like, oh,
I
the
don't-
sandwich.
I don't care. It's so good.
and her initiative is so low because she's basically waiting for you guys to each respond. Like, I'm just saying that she's choosing to go last.
Because plot.
She's waiting to see how you guys respond. Yeah, and we'll let Seraphina roll for herself next time, and we'll pick it up here next week.
Well, I'm gonna go make myself a sandwich. Not a Dagwood, mind you, but I want a sandwich.
All right, this is going to be an interesting encounter. I'm not precisely sure how this will turn out, because 1 verse 5 is ridiculous odds, but at the same time, you never know.
Well, she's uber powerful. I think he said he took half her hit points with that first spell before it got retconned.
It would have. All right, pick it up next week.
Yep. See you later.
Cool.